Hey, it's Dr. Amanda with Straightsmile Solutions, straightsmilesolutions.com. Let's talk about train wreck cases. And this is what I mean. It's not that you directly did anything wrong. The only thing that went wrong, which isn't necessary, is that you missed either an airway issue or a MYO issue. And that can cause, if it's severe, it can cause a case to train wreck. So that means you're looking at a case and it didn't start out with major transverse issues, vertical issues, AP issues, growth issues, AOB issues. That's a vertical issue. Um, but over time, as you started working on it, it started blowing up because as you started moving teeth, all of a sudden the MYO issues were worse. Or the ENT, if you maybe you started constricting things, and the ENT issues kind of blew up as they started growing. Also, as they go through a rapid growth spurt, issues that maybe were more subtle become compounded and can really start expressing. So maybe you didn't start with an AOB, but as you start aligning and leveling, you start blowing up in that bite. So it's like, oh my goodness, did I cause that? Well, kind of you did. I mean, you didn't, but you did. Maybe it wasn't your mechanics. Your mechanics might have been fine for a patient without MYO issues or without ENT issues, which is why I tell you guys every single patient should be screened for MYO. Every single patient should be screened for airway. Now, usually it's less critical. I mean, you still have to do it in adults, right? But especially if you're thinking about doing any retractive mechanics, space closing mechanics, taking out teeth, anything that might shrink the mouth, 100%, yeah. Um, because let's say you just have minimal space right now for the tongue. Well, if we're closing spaces or we decide, hey, we're going to pull teeth, all of a sudden now this can really kick the nervous system and can, it's almost like you're containing this caged animal, the tongue, in a tinier box, and it starts freaking out and doing weird things. So this is where you start to see your weird AOBs. It might just be a centralized AOB. It could be a lateral AOB. You might just see some perio issues. You might start seeing some splaying, start seeing some mobility. A lot of things can be seen, some shifting. So make sure you watch all the content I already have on screening, especially for airway and kids and MYO for kids. I have an entire channel on this. I have an entire phase one playlist with hundreds, I don't even remember, 500 plus videos now. So check it out. It happens. I mean, it even happens with a good orthodontist. Occasionally we miss it. We miss it. We didn't notice it because a lot of times parents don't want to go to an OMT and pay money to be screened, or they don't want to go wait for an ENT. They're just like, hey, can I just start ortho? And we're like, yeah, sure, we can start it. But a lot of times you and your documentation forget that conversation, which is where every single patient needs, you have to refresh your memory on that, especially if you see things happening even slightly unpredictably. If you start to see strange things happen, stop, pause, reassess, take a new Ceph, get new Ceph numbers, do a new MYO screening in-house. You got to get good at doing your own MYO screenings. Unless you understand MYO, you're going to have to send every single patient out for a MYO referral, and that doesn't make sense. A couple $100 when you can just screen it yourself. Just learn to screen it. Use the Ferris form. I have a lot of content on this as well. You can even train up with an oral myologist if you have questions. You can get one who will help your practice if you have questions. There's a lot there on contract. Or I can teach you how to screen yourself. I'm not a myologist, but I have gone through OMT therapy myself, so I understand it. And to be honest, I didn't necessarily fully believe in its power until I went through it. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh my goodness. And then I started seeing and working with so many more doctors who are using it on a regular basis, and the cases just turn out way better. There's a lot less relapse, a lot less litigation, a lot less liability. Um, Way better phase one to phase two transitions if you don't miss it. Okay, so let's say, for example, you do miss it. Oopsie, it happens, right? Well, we just got to reassess everything. Sometimes we have to just stop the treatment, take all the braces or Invisalign off, take a pause. That's why I love that Invisalign has a 5-year plan, because these things happen. And if you tried to cheap out and maybe do like a ClearCorrect 2 or even a moderate or something, you could be in big trouble with an additional major lab fee. And yeah, you're paying for that, not the patient. So that's going to come out of your pocket if you need, or you're going to have to refund. So things to do, just reassess, start all over again. And you may, I mean, this is where you've got to have your informed consent. You've got to make sure it's signed. And no, I don't think the standard informed consents have a ton of stuff on airway and MYO. I mean, I think they should. You could definitely, I mean, this is not something you need to do on every patient, but you could definitely consider, especially borderline or iffy cases where you recommended they go and they said, hey, let's just get started. You could have your own supplemental informed consent. I'm not writing that for you because I'm not a lawyer, and the standards of care are changing rapidly. But just things to think about. If not, just be prepared to pivot, be prepared to take a break, be prepared to fully debond, be prepared to say, okay, we need to take a break. Now you have to go to the ENT in order for us to continue. I mean, for me, just going, if you have a CBCT, just take that full airway scan, send them to something like Beam Readers. And I know I seem to give them a lot of business, but I use their word kind of like Kleenex in terms of a generic word. I don't care what oral radiologist you use. We have one that we use locally here in my state, but you can also use a more national one that just uploads online, whatever. But have them screen for airway. You can have them screen for airway. And if there's red flags that come up in terms of the size and the shape and, the anatomy of the airway or any, obstructions in the airway, well, then red flag, that could be the issue. Now you get, you don't, maybe now you get to go to ENT and ENT gets to release you to continue ortho. ENT might say it's fine, you can continue ortho. But if the bite is already crazy, I don't think ENT is going to say it's fine. They usually don't. That's a sign that the patient is bucking the treatment and weird things are happening. So in terms of MYO, yeah, sometimes you have to stop. I say ENT is easier because usually it's covered by insurance, although it can take them 6 months to a year to get in some states and countries, depending on the insurance. A little easier in the US if you have private insurance. In terms of MYO, it's hard. It's hard to get a patient to go through MYO sometimes. They just, unless the parents have had an issue with relapse before with another sibling or themselves, or unless they're seeing it happening, they may not believe you on that. So sometimes you have to do some stuff in your office, but if it's that bad, you may just have to compromise and cut a partial refund or you transfer them out, and they can consider getting jaw surgery. There's some orthodontists that do have oral myologists in their offices, so that's a lot easier because usually they bundle that into the fee. So it's not a separate fee to a private one. So just things to think about. But yeah, it happens. All right. Thanks so much.